Hello everyone, it's the 7th day in January 2026, and one would have thought that, with all the drama surrounding the Daddy Lumba story, the fact that he's now been buried and laid to rest, that issue will be completely and totally finished. That people will stop talking about it, people will move on and find something else that is exciting to talk about. However, this has not been the case. This case is still very much alive. People are still talking about it, and the world will not go to sleep. And people are wondering why. The reality of it is that there will be no peace until justice is served. There's been injustice, as far as I can see it, on many fronts. But there's two in particular that I want us to think about. Imagine that your younger brother passes away. You live in a foreign land. Your brother used to live with you in that foreign land, but made the choice to decide to go back to Ghana for many years. And then you hear about his passing on the news and through phone calls from other people. The same brother that you had spoken to literally 2 to 3 days before he passed, he was good and well, and there was nothing wrong with him. On coming home for the ceremonies, the 1-week ceremony to mark his life and all of that, you're hearing conflicting information about his death. And so any logical person would say, no, even though the woman that he was living with claims that she's already done an autopsy, for which I'm not even privy to the results of that or the report from the autopsy, I still want to do an independent one so I can satisfy myself that there's been no foul play. I know exactly what took his life, and if there's anything that the family need to do about it, then they do it. And you're met with all kinds of opposition. No one would allow you to proceed to conduct this autopsy. And in the end, your own brother is laid to rest without you even getting the chance to say goodbye. You never got to see his dead body. You never got to say goodbyes. You never got to make peace with what has happened. You've tried everything. The court is supposed to be a place where justice is served, and yet in 1 minute, you're told you have the injunction to prevent the funeral from going ahead, so you get the opportunity to finally satisfy yourself that your brother died of natural causes or from an illness or whatever it is that took him. Only for an hour later, for the same judge to call back the various lawyers and parties to the case and reverse everything that he had said just an hour prior, and now asking that the only way that injunction stands is if the family is able to raise $200,000 within an hour and a half. Now, anyone who understands how the banking system in Ghana works will tell you that it takes sometimes in excess of a month or two for even an ordinary citizen to be able to withdraw that kind of money from your own bank account. I've had friends who have had $10,000 that they want to withdraw and do something urgently back in Ghana, and it's taken some of them in excess of a week to be able to do that. And even then, the monies were split up in tiny bits, and a bit of it issued every single day until, the whole week was up and the whole amount was transferred where it needed to go. So if this is how difficult it is to get, 10%, even less than that, like 5% of that money, how much more difficult would it have been for the family to be able to raise that money in 90 minutes? And so because they weren't able to fulfill that, the injunction was taken off, and the family, the people that were not the closest to Daddy Lumba, managed to bury him without his nearest and dearest, his siblings, his children. his wife that he married legally in Germany, his uncles, like the close, intimate family you think would be at the center of his funeral, were not even allowed to be partakers in the whole process. I have never heard anything as absurd as that in my life before, and yet it was allowed to happen only in a country called Ghana. Secondly, a wife who was married legally in the German system, where there is a German marriage certificate that proves that yes, this is his legal wife, was also denied the ability to be the only legitimate wife. Because when you marry under ordinance, there can be no other marriage, there can be no other woman, can be no other spouse. Was denied that because apparently the paperwork she provided wasn't convincing enough, wasn't in the judgment authentic enough to prove that she was a wife under ordinance. And so what happened was that the judge decided to take the matter into her own hands and declare both this older wife, the only legal wife, and now his side chick, to also be recognized as a wife under customary law, which allows men to have multiple wives. It almost seems like there was some conniving and colluding behind the scenes to prevent and to thwart the ways of the people that were his nearest and dearest from being able to do that which they wanted to do for some obscure reason that is still unclear. Now, until justice is served on both parties that I have just highlighted here, there will never be any peace. And we will not stop talking about this on social media until justice is served. People are not interested about talking about any other thing. There's so many things that are happening, a lot of trending topics out there. But the only thing that Ghanaians are fixated on is to having some conclusion that provides and secures justice for those that justice needs to be served to. And so until justice is served, we are not going to be able to sleep and have a restful time, because some people have been denied justice in the most profound, unthinkable of ways. And my heart goes out to them. I don't even know how they do it day to day. Closure for a loved one is something that is necessary to help in grieving a relative. Now, to have a brother that you love so much, a husband that you love so much, pass on. And for you to be denied the ability to know what it is that took him, to be denied the right to see him one last time and say your goodbyes, hurts more than sense. And so if we want the highways on social media to be clear so that other things can be spoken about, then please, the powers that be need to ensure that justice is served. The sad reality is that we're not seeing the bigger picture as Ghanaians, that by denying German marriage certificates as being authentic and genuine, what we're saying, therefore, is that when we also married under Ghanaian ordinance marriage, travel abroad, and also want to, carry our spouses along, they also have the right to render our marriage certificates null and void. It doesn't look right. We don't think it's legitimate. Because what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. And once it starts with one country, all over Europe, the North Americas, and everywhere else would also follow suit. And that's what people are failing to identify. Now, the sad reality is that the people, the locals that are back home in Ghana, that a lot of us are being vocal and trying to fight for, don't even understand what we're talking about here. And it's one thing to be ignorant, but the fact is, it's one thing to be ignorant, but the worst thing you could possibly do is to not try to educate yourself. There are a lot of educated illiterates that have no knowledge about what's happening. And yet they come out on platforms and spew their ignorance with insults and all kinds of things to stop you from speaking your truth. In today's day and age, there's so many cyberbullies that think by shouting, by using horrible language, that just shows how vulgar and low-level minded and classy they are, that it doesn't serve anyone. It just shows just how, excuse my French, how silly they are. But that is the sort of ignorance and illiteracy that is being put out there. And people think this is something to be laughing about. It's funny. Guys, 2026 is the year of upliftment, the year of empowerment, the year of getting knowledge, because it's at your fingertips. You have everything that you require to learn. So if you really, truly want to learn, you can. You have every tool in your hands to be able to do so. So if I were you, I'll take advantage of the situation and learn, acquire knowledge. Knowledge, they say, is power. And it helps you to make the best decisions that help you. So if you're here and you're wondering why we are still talking about Daddy Lumba in 2026 when he's been passed away and gone for almost 6 months now, that is the reason why. And this ain't gonna stop until justice is served. Somebody cannot sacrifice their whole self on the altar of love for many years and get nothing, and not be given the due recognition for all the effort put in. Now, let's not be under any illusion into thinking that I am cutting out the person that caused all of this drama in the first place, because I know that Daddy Lumba started all of this. If he had just done what was right from the very beginning, kept his vows and the ordinance, we won't be here talking, would we? But as with a lot of African men, they think they can have their cake, eat their cake and have it. And so they decide which kind of marriage they want, whether it's customary, Islamic marriage or ordinance marriage, but they still want to be polygamous in all of these. But every condition or situation that you put yourself under comes with rights under that and responsibilities. A lot of people have a good time enjoying their rights, but few people want to take the responsibilities that come along with that. When you're married under ordinance, it's one man, one wife. If you think that no longer works for you, you can go back to the same court that you got into that ordinance with and end things amicably, share your assets with your spouse, and move on with your life. It's a choice. But if you fail to do these things, then these are some of the repercussions that come out of what you've done, which is what we are seeing way after his death. Now, many people say he's a private man. He never wanted his business out there. But yeah, the thing is, if you want to have peace in your grave, you order your steps. You do the things that would ensure that you have peace in your grave. Choosing to have multiple women, multiple children from different mothers only creates factions. I don't know any single man on this planet Earth from the days of the Bible, from Abraham and Sarah days, that chose to have more than one woman in his life with children. that has ever had peace. And it's evident that men never take responsibility either, right from the days of Adam and Eve. If you recall that story, you would know that when Eve had fed the forbidden fruit to Adam, and it came down to it, as the head of the house, as the man of the house, as the husband, Adam said, "It is the wife that you gave me." He's trying to blame God there. "The wife that you gave me that made me eat the fruit." No accountability, no responsibility. And that has just become worse and worse until present day. Men want to enjoy everything, a lot of them, but few of them will take responsibility to do the right thing when the right thing is required. In this particular case, this is what is evidentially being shown and demonstrated. How selfish, cruel, disrespectful men could be, can be. And this is a typical example. If you want a good woman that will be by your side through thick and thin and do all the things that loving married couples are supposed to do, as the man, you have the responsibility to provide, profess, and protect your wife at all times. Love on her. And don't create complications that live after you well beyond your grave. My name is Sika. I hope you found some knowledge from this video. Please share it so other people can also get the benefit of it. We'll be talking a lot about this story because there's just so many lessons to learn from it. Have a fantastic day ahead. If it's the end of the day for you, I'll enjoy that too. And I'll see you again shortly. God bless you. Bye for now.